In today's video, we're gonna be lighten things up. Howdy everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're gonna cover a nice little light trick that you can do. By using only one single light source, you could actually illuminate an entire subject that you're photographing. And in this instant, it's gonna be this Porsche GT3 that we have right here. The final product can look something like this after combining several photos. We can take pictures of anything using this method, even much bigger subjects. And this method is exactly the same, just on a larger scale. Now you might be asking, what is this trick that we're going to be using? And it's called light painting. What the heck is light painting? Light painting is a technique that we can use to create different patterns using light and long exposures. When we move our light source during a long exposure, we actually capture its entire trajectory and get the desired patterns. Now, this isn't the only way you can use light painting for long exposures. You can also use light painting to illuminate still objects such as this car model, and especially in cases where we have limited equipment and it's a very dimly lit setting. All we need for a photo like this is a camera, a tripod, a light source, and of course, our subject. Oh, and the editor module in Zonar Photo Studio X. Now let's put the camera on the tripod and set up our composition. From now on, it's important not to move the camera or subject, not even 1 millimeter, because it'll look funny in the final edit. Turn off the lights and you're ready to go. First, be sure to set a high enough f-stop number on the camera since we are shooting with a long focal length. And it's important not to change the f number later either. That would change the depth of field and would completely mess up everything in post-production. Next, set our ISO as low as possible to get the lowest amount of digital noise. It's also a good idea not to change this too much so we don't reveal more noise in certain parts of the photo later. Let's shine the light on this car and either use the light meter or our live view to set the shutter speed. Since I can move this around as much as I want later, let's set the shutter speed to around 4 seconds. Now, if you have a shutter remote control or an app for controlling your camera on your phone, then by all means use them. It's going to minimize the chance of the photo being blurry and disturbing the composition. And for the rest of you, your camera's self-timer is going to suffice. Now just shine the light and shoot to your heart's content. Now I start by taking a photo that has absolutely no light, and this comes in handy if we want total darkness or very strong shadows somewhere in our photo. Then I light the background. Next, I shine the light on my car. I start with static lighting from the front of the camera, and then I use the light to make a semicircle around the car from the front and a long line of light over the entire car. Don't forget to light the car from the back as well. Next, let's focus on the details. Let's light the front grille, wheels, and the spoiler separately. Now let's check to see how the photos look and either retake them or just take additional photos of what's missing. For example, here's a little tip and that can really make things stand out. Let's shoot a line of light over the car that's going to form our light painting. And that should do. Now let's move into the editor module where we're going to put everything nicely together. First, let's open the dark photo in the editor module. And it may look like there's nothing there, but if I increase exposure, we can see that there is some image data in the photo after all. This, of course, is of no use, so I rename the first layer and let's move on. Next, let's click Add Layer and select Paste from File and add the photo with just the background lit. I'm going to rename the layer, but I'm not going to do anything else with it for now. We've got a plan for it, but I'm saving that for the end. Now let's add the photo which I lit from the front using only the static light. Again, let's rename the layer to keep everything nicely organized and the layer completely covered in the background. And since we only want to use the parts that are lit, I'm going to need to do some masking. Right-click the layer, select Mask, and then Hide All. To reveal what I need, I click the mask and then select the paintbrush either in Drawing Tools or by pressing the B key. And I'm going to select white as my color to reveal parts of the mask. Next, we can start revealing. Let's use the outline from the background layer and then gradually reveal the top of the car to roughly the table's edge. If I go outside the line somewhere, it doesn't matter. I select black instead of white to hide that part. Let's try to be as precise as possible so that we get the most natural and best looking result. And don't worry, we're only gonna stress this part just once. So after we get this exactly right, the next steps will go a lot faster. Once we reveal the table's edge, I make my job a lot easier. I'm going to use Shift and the mouse wheel to increase the diameter of the paintbrush to its maximum. And let's reveal the bottom half of the car and the table using the larger paintbrush. All right, now that it's done, we can move on. And I can see that the front of the car is lit up, but the side and back are still dark. Now let's add another layer with a photo where I drew light over the side of the car. Again, this layer is going to cover all of the layers beneath it. However, we need to blend it in with the layers beneath and make it look like there's another light source. If I were to mask just the car, the layer would cover it and we would only see the light from the top layer. So let's use layer blending. Let's expand the options and select Screen. Screen covers all the black and blends the dark parts with the layers beneath. Now you can see that we've blended the layers together and it looks like the car is actually lit completely. But it changed the lighting for the rest of the photo and we don't really want that. So let's add another mask and hide everything. Remember to rename it though. Now let's reveal parts of the car that we want to brighten. Thanks to the blending mode, we don't have to be too precise, so I'm going to use a big paintbrush with a lot of blur and carefully reveal the bright areas. Now we can see that the combination of two lights is just a bit too much for the front grille. So let's lower the opacity for the paintbrush so it's not at full power, select black, and then partially hide this right part of the mask. Click on the eye icon next to the layer to check what it looked like before and now after our adjustments. And I'm pretty happy with how it looks now, so I think we can move on. Now, the roof still looks a bit dark. So let's add a layer where we painted the line of light over the car, rename it, and then switch the blending mode back to screen. Let's grab another mask to hide, and use the white brush to reveal what we need. And I kind of like the way that the light from above is hitting the table, so let's reveal a part of the table as well. And I'm going to leave some shadows in the corners just to add a little bit of pizzazz and drama. Since we already have this part revealed in the first layer, the shadows are going to overlap in some places. And here's one right here behind the car. Let's select the mask of the first revealed later and hide this spot. By hiding and revealing masks, I can check how it looks. We can see that the back of the roof is still quite dark, and I think it would be useful to add a bit of contour to the outline of the car. So let's add another layer with a photo where I lit the car from behind. This is going to give it a nice contour, not only on the roof, but also on the hood and the headlights. Again, let's change the blending mode to screen. I look to see where the light is reflecting, and again, hide it using a mask, and use the paintbrush to reveal the areas where I want to bring out the contour. Okay, so we managed to reveal part of the windshield where the reflection is. And I think it looks pretty good, but I don't want to do that just yet. So I'm going to use the black paintbrush to hide it again. And let's see how it looks now. All right, next let's focus on the details of the car that we actually lit separately. That was the spoiler, grille, and the wheels. Now let's start with the spoiler. We already know the process. Add a layer change the blending mode, and then change to see how it looks. Hide the mask and start revealing. And I'm going to reveal the entire spoiler on this part on the back of the car. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing with the front grille. Let's add a layer, change the blending mode, and I just noticed that I didn't rename the last layer, so I'm going to quickly remedy that. Now let's add a mask and hide all. I'm going to use the paintbrush to reveal the mask, and there are some noticeable areas of overexposure here in the highlights. So I'm going to switch my paintbrush to black, lower opacity, and hide this part of the mask once again. Now the same for the wheels. I'm going to speed things up a bit now because it's the same process that we've already done. And I'm going to take advantage of the fact that by shining light on the wheels, I managed to illuminate some parts of the car that were formerly in the shadows. And bam! Our foundation is finally done. You can now see that the car is completely illuminated. Now some people will be happy with this, but I still want to jazz up the photo just a little bit more. Now at the beginning of this video, I said that we had a plan for the background. Now my plan is to change the color of this layer. So let's click adjust, choose enhance colors, and play around with the sliders to fine tune the color that we want. And for some reason, I think that this shade of pink just somehow fits with the silver car. Now to make sure some of the light painting stays, I'm going to add a layer with the photo where I did the light lines behind the car. Let's change the blending mode back to screen because there are nice reflections from the light on the car and the table, and I don't want to mask anything this time. Now I'm going to change the color back to the same color as the background. And I'm done. I'm going to click through the layers just to see everything I've edited. Okay, and I'm going to add some final touches to one of the masks. Then I'm going to click Save As and save my photo as a JPEG. Now I can't help myself, and I'm going to open my JPEG in Develop just to tweak the photo a little bit more. Let's increase the shadows and decrease blacks for just a little bit more contrast. And let's use the tone curve to mute some of the blues and greens in the lighter parts of the exposure. Now I want the light to look a bit more natural, so I'm going to also increase clarity and dehaze to add just a little bit more pizzazz. And finally, I think we're completely done. All right, that is how you can use light painting to create something interesting out of very regular objects you might have at home, such as this cool little GT3 Porsche. I hope it was an interesting video for you, that you learned something interesting. Might be another tip for your tool bag you might use later. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe so you never miss another video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, take care. See you later. Ciao.